Okay, guys, how we doing? So it's what are we? Friday the 29th here, and you guys saw the results of the polling here. So we're gonna do the Binance coin to the dollar tether on Binance, of course, and then we'll look at Walton Chain. That was our second place winner from this morning's poll. Now this one, I just did something I don't do very often. I recorded the entire analysis and came back and double checked it, and I think I had it wrong. It actually, I don't think it makes a lot of difference, but I think this count actually works better. So here I am on take two. So there's a few interesting spots here, and there's some area where it's open to interpretation. So, thus me kind of second guessing myself. So coming off of the low here, now this little leading diagonal, it just barely overlaps the one. So I think this looks solid as a leading diagonal into the 1-2, and it's just the 2 comes in right where you'd expect it. So here's the 50, so we just get right between the 50 and the 618. That's right where you want to see it. Now coming off of that, we get this nice clean impulse in the third. Now it's a little bit. Here's what I was looking at on the prior count. So looking here, get that right on there. Well, here's your high probability zone for the third relative to this 1-2. But I think the subdivision plays better that we're going to put the third here at the 2-2. Well, we're between the 200 and 227. It's just I think it plays better. The symmetry is better here in this impulse here. So I think of this 1, 2, 3, 4, I get all the subdivision here I need to give me that impulse into my third. I think that plays better. Now the 4, 5, yeah, that's a little skinny. Yeah, I see it, right? But I think it's nicely technical. So from the 2 to the 3 here, we come 38 to the tick. There's your algo target, of course, right? So boom, they get it. So 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, down for the 4. So where's the 4 relative to the length of the third? So if this is my 2, yet again, here we are, well, right where you're looking for it, between the 23 and the 38. Vegas Wave holds it beautifully. It's held it nicely all the way up. So if this is my 4, of course, now we have the benefit of knowing what came after it. So obviously we have the most probable count here is that we've got the extension in the 5th. So this being the 4, we've got an extension here in the 5. So let me pull this off. That's a holdover from the last version. Now this is going to get interesting because there's almost no way to be definitive about what's next. So 3, 4. So I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got the extension in the 5th of the extension in the 5th. If you follow me there. So 3, 4, so I know I have an extension in the 5th, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, again, looks like another extension in the 5th. So although, let's just check that, right? So if this is the 3, and if that 4 is correctly identified here, well, not necessarily an extension. It could be, right? Here would be 100% of the third, so may not have the extension here just yet. So question is, are we done up here? Well, let's dig into this off of this low. So if this is the 4, which I think is the higher probability, most likely case, the higher probability, then I've gone 1. I got to get an A, B, C here to give me my 2. So I think that is our play here. A, B, little expansion in the B, and then we come down for the 2 here. Now coming off of that, it's a skinny 1-2, but this looks very much, this little congestion here looks like just what you'd expect in a 4. So, if I take it down to a 30-minute, we can dig that 3, 4, 5 out of it. So this is the candidate for the third. And if we do just the same thing we always would, and we just measure, how do we look on the 1 relative to the 2? Well, we get through it a little bit. Here's your high probability zone for that third here between the 1618 and the 175. A couple of wicks get through it, but that location is solid enough that I think this is a good candidate for our 3 relative to this 1-2. Now, here's where it gets a little dicey. So this is it's just open to interpretation. So do we have, excuse me, do we have ABC here? Is this A, B? I know that's hard for you to see. Let me go to 1 hour. Okay, so because I can get 5 here, and in fact I get an impulse. Yeah, I do. Do I? Shit. Can't tell here. Do we overlap? Let me put that. If that's my 1. Yep, we do. Okay. just by a penny or two. So if this is my 1, all right, let's zoom in here. So I've got to go with a diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of C. So I prefer this count here, and I'll show you why. So I think we go A, B, C into the 4 here. Now, if that's wrong, that's going to affect where we're going here. So, you know, you gotta have some confidence here, because coming off of that here, so it looks like you can get the 1 wave here. So you'd have to do it this way. So since it's a diagonal, so here, well, let me move this up. So here's the 1. All right, so clearly, if it's going to play this way, we've got a diagonal if the 4 is in here. So 1, 2, A, B, C into the 3, A, B, C into the 4. Now we look for, always in a diagonal, we're looking for the 4. That's a bit of a tell as to how it relates to the length of the start of the 1 through the pivot of the, wrong one, through the pivot of the 3rd. So grabbing that, how do we do here? All right, so kind of in between, but that's not unreasonable. Ideally, you come down and tag the 50 here, so you know you've got an algo behind you. That could be a front run on it. So here we go, just Vegas Wave holds it nicely. Now, can I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and be done here? Well, it looks like, well, pardon me, since it's a diagonal, we do it this way. So, God damn it, come here. We do it A, B, C. All right, so that would give us our 1 wave here. Now, let me scrunch this back up here so we get a handle on it. All right, so, and of course, right, so if that is the front run on the 50, they get target. All right, so pull that off. All right, so if that's done, if we've got a diagonal here, well, of course, you wouldn't know this, right? So it would have been very easy to think, oh, 3, 4, ending diagonal into the 5th. Oh, we're starting down, right? And then, big surprise. No, we're not. So if that's the 4, then what does that leave? So as a diagonal, if it's not the 5th, it can only be the 1. So this looks like we've got a 1, 2 here. Now we go deep, right? No question about it. We go deep. So if that's the 1, we get, you know, between the 786 and the 886. So we're very deep here, but we stay internal. So we have an A, B, C to give us a 2. And then coming off the 2, looks like I can go 1, 2, big pump here, 3. Now 4, interestingly, we don't overlap the 1. So I have a contender here for an impulse. But to get that impulse, this 1, 2, looks like we're going to need this to play as the 1, 2 of the 5th. So first challenge. All right, so can you get an impulse out of that? It's just a straight pump. It's going to be mighty tough to do it. Even if you went down. So sorry. God damn, that's frustrating. So sorry, guys. God, the allergies here are going to kill me. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means this has to be 1, 2 of the 5. Otherwise, well, the only alternate here that I considered is that we've got a truncated 5th here. All right, so that we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, good luck on the 5 there. I know. So they all break down at some degree, but I'd put it in the realm of possibility here, because then we'd have A, B, C. So it might be A, B going in. Now, if this starts to roll over, then that's more likely what you're looking at here, and we're going to have to call the 5 in up here. Okay, and then we start the process of correcting the entire completed impulse off the December 18 low. So how do you know? Well, there's no way to know. Right? So just the fact that we didn't overlap the proposed 1 here seems to imply that I'm still in an impulse here and that the 5 is yet to come. So this would all push over here. So is there a trade here? Well, yeah, there is a trade here. So you could work off of this pivot as the proposed 4. This is the proposed 1. So if this is going to be the 4, then you've got a little pocket here. So let's move this all. Oh, let's see. So this would have to go off. This goes off. So if this is 1, 2, here's the trade. Now you're gonna have to be disciplined on the stop here. All right, so if you're buying the 50 on the assumption it's a 2, so perhaps a front run on the 50. Now there is absolutely no need to be beyond the 65 here. Number 1, right? So this structure has the potential to hold it here. So we got a few wicks here, some structure here that might hold it, right? That would be at the 786 if I'm right on that. But this is the key one here. Right, so this would be our swing high down for the 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. If that holds it, then that's why I think that's a reasonable spot. So then you're going to get decent risk reward here. So you're not risking a lot. So there's 7.6 to 1. Maybe some modest leverage here. You got a nice little, nothing wrong with that trade, right? 7.6 to 1. Yeah, right. So very relatively low risk, right? Because you've got a fairly decent sized target here. So you're making the assumption that from the 2, you're going to get all the way up to that 1, 6, 1, 8, and the 5, which we can't count on that. So even if you just got second target here, you're still at 5 to 1. Algo almost 3.5 to 1. So you've got some potential for a trade here. Now, with the relatively tight stop here, if this starts to break down and we start to come down here and we don't get support here, so these start to fail and we start to head down, well, then you're going to have to lean back into the idea that the 5 is in here and we had a truncated 5th, right? But we don't need to go there just yet. So yes, there's a trade there. Yeah, that's so simple, right? You put an alert on it. As you approach the 50, take a look at it. sorry guys. 1, 2, looks like A, B, C could be going in. Maybe a little vol over the weekend. So if that's going to go up, now you got to keep in mind where you are, because we're trying to complete the initial impulse off the December 18th low. So if I go back to a 2-hour here, and this is why you want to be disciplined about that stop, because if we're done here, come here, can I get it all here? Right. Okay, good. So let me pull some of this off to make the point. Right, the reason we don't want to be overly aggressive here. This is definitely not a spot to say, oh, I think I'm going to grab some Binance coin and just be a buy and hold. No, not the place for it. Because if one possibility is we're done, the second possibility is there's another kick here, but we're in the process of finishing the initial impulse off of this low. So what that implies is that we're going to be sitting and waiting for a retrace of the entire thing. So I'll just use the upper target here. We'll call it 1956. Shit, we could use 20 bucks, right? So what are you anticipating? Well, once that completes, again, now nothing has to happen, but the probable outcome is you're going to get some sort of retrace to give you the 2 of that degree. So here's the trade that's worth waiting for. Now you're getting the third, the big 3 right off the low, right? So, and shit, there's no telling where it's going here. That this could be the third of the 1 of the higher degree, right? So is that worth waiting for? So you can play around up here with these little punchy singles, right? Nothing wrong with them. But if you want to be more patient and let this resolve and reveal itself up here as to what we have and where we are, well, you don't have to chase anything up here. You can just sit patiently knowing that likely, right? Again, nothing's inevitable, but likely there's a retrace to give us the 2 of the next degree. Now, could you be left hanging here and not get involved? Well, of course, right? That's always the risk. But if you want to be trying to buy it up here after this move that we've had from, what did we go, from $4 to, what did we get up to, 17.50? All right, higher risk to be a buyer up here, right? So better to, ideally, if you say, hey, all right, so let's wait until they put it on sale. That's what I would suggest here. Now, this is also very, very steep here, so you almost, there's hardly any geometry to work with here. Let's see, if I go to a 4-hour here, I think there is some structure, right? So I wicked off these pivots here. So as this comes down, you could even tighten this up and say, well, if that structure is going to kick in, so here I've tightened up my buy zone. Now, if that's going to go to if we're going to get a true third there, if this is going to play as, shit, I can't even see it. If this is going to play as ABC coming down, get our 2, well, that's your third. That's what you're after. So talk about some decent risk reward. So if we can be a buyer here, let's just use the 50 up to the what would be the 1618 approximately. Stop under the 65. Well, there's 8.5 to 1. Right now, that one I'm much more comfortable with this trade here and being more aggressive, perhaps with some leverage, because of the potential upside here. Right, in the structure, I'll be more confident if I've got a completed impulse here to give me the larger degree 1, and I sit and wait for the 2. Right, knowing, right, I could be left, mouse in hand, right, unfilled, waiting patiently for that. Right, shit, right, welcome to trading. And it happens, right? So next pair, next coin, next trade. Right, I'd rather wait for the setup that I'm confident in. This one, sure, right? Why, yeah, those you can trade those, but this is the one. That one I could be more aggressive, and that one, stop here. I could certainly, see some more significant upside there, but of course that, right? So you might make a decision if it's going to play. Then we're going to get the 4-5, right? And what are we completing if we do that? Well, then that just could be just another one wave. We wait for the next degree, right? So lots of opportunity here. But first, the market has to reveal itself here. What are we doing? Do we have the high or not? Right? I would probably, I would not be chasing up here. I'd wait for this. Would be my personally, that's how I would do it. Not that there's not, I'm not saying don't trade that. I'm just, for me, right, because I like the longer time frame, I'd wait for this. All right, guys, back to you in a minute. We'll look at Walton. See you in a bit.